Hello, I'm your designated talk giver today. Sorry, I had no choice in the matter. I was asked to do it, and so if the Ajahn asks you to do something, you do it. That's how monastic life goes. It's not a democracy. So, you have thousands and thousands of talks on the internet. You have thousands and thousands of meditation sessions on the internet. What can be so important for me to sit here today in that hall and talk into a microphone and try to look into that camera that hangs on the wall there? How can that be relevant? How can I make that relevant? I have not the slightest idea. I guess we're doing the whole thing because there's a crisis going on, so I heard. In the monastery, we still get fed. People bring food and then they leave immediately again. That is the difference. People are not sharing the meal with us anymore. But apart from that, it's beautiful, nice and quiet. And this social isolation that is felt by a lot of people doesn't have any relevance in the monastery because we're socially isolated for a long time. From my monastic life, I have been socially isolated now. The only thing that is different is through getting a little bit of the news and getting a few of the reactions, is that it brings home how relevant the Dhamma is in our lives. This old age, sickness and death business is not for somebody else at some time out there and has nothing to do with me. This how fragile the whole system is, how fragile these bodies are. It seems so secure, it almost seems like we have nature under control. So comfortable, no famines, at least here in Australia anymore. Good social security, health security. And so, an accident might happen to us, or we can be scared of maybe catching a sickness. But this seeing how little we are in power, and just the virus comes along and the world stands still. And just everything so interconnected, world trade, it just comes to a hold. And what seemed to be so dependable and so secure and so certain comes crumbling down. And not even that much has happened compared to other things that happened around the world. I don't know, we have a bit over 100,000 deaths around the world, as far as I know. I haven't caught up the last few days with the numbers. So 100,000 deaths is not that much, with over 7 billion people on the planet. But this fear that grips people and grips nations, not being used to be confronted with unexpected death. And it's just like, what? That cannot happen. That cannot happen in Australia. That cannot happen in Europe. Cannot happen in America. But yes, it does happen. So it's beautiful if you practiced for a while already. If you're in contact with Buddhism for a while already. This contemplation about uncertainty, this impermanence, is not just a concept, not just something out there, and it's part of the religion or whatnot. This is the essential nature of things. We think we have to avoid it, to think about it, to even make it possible for us to live. Just if we have this decay in front of our eyes, this constant crumbling of things in front of our eyes all the time, how can we even go through the day? But it's a contemplation. And we can not have it in front of our eyes all the time, but the beauty of it is, if we contemplated it skillfully, it doesn't take us completely by surprise anymore. I worked in an old people's home for a while, and there were people that were over 80, and they seemed to be completely at odds that their body was old now. As if old age had just sneaked up on them and just booms, and they were old from one moment to the next. It just was they completely missed that process of the body getting more wrinkly and weaker, and more ailments coming, more trouble. And then there was a lot of lamentation. They were not happy with that situation, and that means you're not happy with reality, and that is obviously suffering. That is unskillful thought, unskillful contemplation, wanting things to be permanent that are not permanent is just suffering. So because the whole world is in that grip of this social distancing and travel restrictions, still don't know when that is going to be lifted. People have to stick in their homes with their families. Just hope that they don't bash their heads in, because they have to live and spend time with each other more than they ever had to do before. And that also brings up issues people could avoid before. In the monastery, I'm used to living with people that you not necessarily like that much. In the world, there are people in the monastery I would never choose to live with them voluntarily. At home, if I had a home, I would not associate with them. But in the monastery, you are thrown together, and you make the best out of it. And because you cannot escape that situation, or if you don't want to disrobe or run away, you see the problem is in your head, and you have to solve it in your head, and you have to solve it in your heart. And that is a challenge for you sitting at home now, you're stuck in that situation. and you can feel trapped, or you use the Dhamma and make the best out of it. Don't be afraid to experience a little bit of discomfort. There's going to be some tension is going to come up. Different personalities rubbing constantly against each other is going to cause friction. Be prepared. That is completely normal. I hope you have contemplated the Dhamma a little bit. You see, it's not the fault of anybody. And it's not your fault. This is just people coming together with different wants and not wants, and this is what's happening. But at least in Australia, it seems people are concerned of not being able to wipe their butts anymore, so they ran out of toilet paper. While in America, they ran out of guns, and that tells me something about the mentality of different countries. The first thing that comes to mind in a crisis is to buy a gun or to buy toilet paper. That is a difference in attitude. So, yeah, good on the toilet paper buyers, actually. Even if you didn't need to be that afraid, can always use water as well. Get a sprayer. So, if you watch your mind and you see that crisis brings up fear in your mind, please don't run away. Please don't constantly distract yourself, because we still have the possibility to do that in this day and age, obviously. Just calm down a little bit and just have a look at it. Have a look at what is coming up. Kindly look at it. And if it's fear, investigate very clearly what thoughts are coming up in the mind. Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to murder my family? Am I going to go crazy? All these different thoughts coming up in the mind. And if you have a little bit of meditation experience, you see, oh yeah, there's thoughts coming up in the mind. Maybe there's a little bit of distance there already, that you can just watch thoughts coming up in the mind. Nothing more than that. We don't know what's going to happen. The only thing certain is that we're all going to die. Just don't know when. So that contemplation is there for you. It's going to end. The whole thing is going to end. Are you afraid of that? And if you are afraid of that, do you want to die afraid? As a Buddhist, just having that belief that when the body dies, things don't just finish. It's going to be a very important moment in our life, the last moments. If consciousness continues, it's nice not to be afraid, isn't it? If we have never investigated what fear is, then we can feel a little bit unprepared. So you have that opportunity now, because it seems very real. So it's this security that seemed to be there for us can be taken away at any time. Living on a planet in a flesh body was very insecure business. and that crisis brings it home a little bit more for people. And that can be a horrible thing that we want to run away from, or is sort of, wow, what a learning experience. It's this reminder there for us again. I mean, 150 years ago, people were still confronted with death on a maybe not daily basis, but in their lives there were enough occasions where you were just confronted directly with death. And also with dead bodies, taking care of a dead body, getting rid of a dead body. So this death business wasn't so removed as it is today. It's not just was not just the coroner coming in and taking a body away. There was often the families had to take care of their own, to wash the body, and then make sure it gets into the ground somehow. And usually it was lying around for a while that people could say goodbye. We're still doing that, but they're pumped full of fluids, and they're trying to get rid of the smell, and they go into the freezer immediately afterwards again. So and they have nice makeup on and whatnot. You have a team of people taking care of the body to make it presentable before we even dare to look at a dead body. So we don't have that opportunity anymore. We hardly get confronted with that if we're not working in the occupations where we're still surrounded with death, like caretakers and healthcare workers and hospitals and morticians and what else. So we have the opportunity now with just this sort of a crisis. It hasn't even hit. We're not hungry. We're not cold. Our movements are restricted. We cannot do everything we want anymore, and that can be a lot of suffering already. But I guess from some people out there, that just this sort of security has crumbled a little bit. And decide in your mind if that needs to be a bad thing. This awareness of the ending of things can be something beautiful as well. Can give meaning to your actions, can make us more careful in what we do. Just because we know that might be the last thing we do on earth. If there was a little bit more of that consciousness up in our mind, if we were conscious of that a little bit more, then often we wouldn't do certain things. Would be more careful with our actions. So it can be a beautiful contemplation. This impermanence, it's not sure what's going to happen. It's not sure if you're going to lose your job. It's not sure that you're going to lose your house. It's not sure if you're there tomorrow. So these are thoughts. And if these thoughts cause fear in your mind, please identify them as thoughts. Oh, you are a thought in my mind that creates fear. Okay. How much reality do you have? I might lose my job. Okay. What happens when you lose your job? Is it sure that you lose your job? What if you don't lose your job? Maybe you're stuck in that horrible job for the rest of your life. So it's just this fear. If you watch the process of a thought arising, fear coming up in the body, that feeling in the body feeding the next thought actually, and this perpetual motion of nonsense in the head. you see that there is no ground. Fear is actually not an unpleasant feeling because it doesn't really exist without this thought mechanism behind it. If there comes fear, feel it. Feel it in your body. Where is it? How does it feel? You will be astounded. It's not painful. If you break a leg, it's far more unpleasant than that fear. It doesn't hurt at all. Have a good look and you will be very surprised what happens. Have a good look at your thoughts in your mind. Where are they going? And I mean, there were so many meditation sessions now for you on the internet. I hope you develop that space in your mind. That is what meditation can do for you, just to discern between thoughts. Thoughts that go in the direction of creating more suffering and thoughts that go in the direction of creating less suffering. And if you are a little bit more calm in your meditation, you see that thoughts in themselves are suffering. If you have the opportunity now, sitting at home because you might not be able to go to work, everything is closed down still and you have more time. You have more time to meditate, maybe. Take another 5, 10, 15 minutes for yourself. All the time you need to spend at work usually, you have that time for yourself. You have a little bit of the chance to do that what the monastics do. Spending time with being with you, now with your family. I have my monastic family I have to live with. And it's a mixed blessing, same as having a family, having a wife and having children. There's happiness and suffering in it. So I hope that you use that opportunity of just this, what can we call it, a world consciousness of the fragility of life. I think that just has become stronger again. This uncertainty has become stronger again. And you can make that a blessing for yourself. You can make that a contemplation for yourself. This thing, enjoy it while it lasts. Do your best while it lasts. Be kind as long as it lasts. Can be over any moment. And that is that beautiful reminder that nature gives us here in, what is it, April 2020, bit over mid-April, don't know what date it is, still living in the monastery. I don't have to care too much about that stuff. So this is the little time capsule, what is happening in this day and age, something completely new, something that we never had. There were catastrophes and whatnot all through all the centuries, but this world awareness of something at the same time is only possible because of the communication level we have reached now in an instant around the world. So everybody being aware of that and the whole world reacting to something in a similar fashion with the social distancing, isolation, travel restrictions, people not being able to go to work and so on, the whole economy going down the drain. Very, very new experience, very exciting experience, and for many people probably very frightening experience. But I hope the practitioners have their act together a little bit. Discern that they are just thoughts. Thoughts of the future that may cause fear. And if you're too excited, you always have, this is not sure, this is not sure, this is not sure. And if you're a little bit calmer, you just see thoughts arising, thoughts passing away. Not your thoughts, they're just coming and going. And some thoughts stir you up, and you realize they're not helpful. They're not helpful for me, they're not helpful for others. So you don't grasp onto them. And then maybe some interesting and nice stuff comes up that lifts you up. And then that passes as well. And it's also sort of a stir. And what I hope for you is that you have the time to face whatever is in front of you. Use that time. Use that time just to be aware of what is going on. If you enjoy calmness, I hope you have the time to sit down. Maybe every day, maybe a few times during the day. Give yourself a few minutes and see that beauty of when the thoughts are not rattling in your head. When things calm down a little bit. And then this awareness that there's no need for all this thinking the whole time. See exactly where these thoughts are taking you, if they're really leading you to something useful. There can be thoughts that lead to good actions, and they can be useful. But most of it, if it's just fear about something in the future, or just negativity about something happening, just see it, feel it. Feel the unpleasantness of it, feel the agitation. And the mind realizes it's just suffering there. You don't have to do anything. The mind sees it's gonna let go. Just by the nature of the mind. We all want happiness, we all try to avoid suffering. That's the whole game. That's what's going on the whole time, every minute, every second. Trying to be happy, trying to avoid suffering. So I couldn't avoid the suffering sitting here in front of that camera without an audience, only with some imaginary people who are going to watch that stuff, maybe or not, in the near future, I guess. Is a weird experience for me. I'm not an actor, I'm not an entertainer. And to give a talk without an audience, I'm not completely comfortable with that. So I had to imagine you, I had to imagine your concerns. And I just wish you the very, very best out there. I hope you don't see the whole thing just as something horrible and negative. You don't need to do that, because it has this aspect of awakening to something. It's not Buddhism. What the Buddha did was awakening, was not enlightenment. There was no light shining in his eyes or whatnot. He awakened to the truth to the nature of things. And by awakening to that, he got rid of suffering, which is very interesting. It's not by running away or running towards, it was by seeing this inescapable truth, just waiting there for us to be discovered. And they didn't cause more fear, and they didn't cause more suffering. It was exactly the opposite. Every time we see, we look closer and closer. Where is this thought coming from? Where is this thought going? Where is it leading? What feeling comes up? Where is that going? If you can investigate with this interest, scientific interest, kindness, whatever you want to call it, and just meaning well with that process that is going on, where we have so little control over. It's not just the outside world that we can't control. We can't control our own minds. We can't control our own bodies. There's even a weird thing to call it our own, because it's so little power over the whole thing. So beautiful in your meditation, you can just sit back, watch, enjoy. And when it calms down, it's always going to be nicer and nicer and nicer. Thoughts are not the salvation. Thoughts are a burden, a constant creator of reality. So if you can't calm down, maybe you can make at least sure what reality you create in your head. Just seeing clearly. This is a thought, not more than a thought. So never more than that, only if you make it so. So I hope you enjoy the coronavirus as much as I do. Bad thing to say, I guess, but for me, things haven't changed yet. How much have things changed for you? How much really? And most of you are still not hungry, still not cold, still have a roof over your head, still have a warm bed to sleep in. So not that much has changed. There's still the essentials, what we need as a human being, is all still there. So the suffering of what we create in our heads, what might happen in the future, please be aware of that. It's just a story told in the head, nothing more. And until the moment we take our last breath here on earth, it's important to know what stories we tell ourselves. And I hope your stories are not just full of dukkha, of suffering. I hope you tell yourselves a story that is more in the direction, at least, of some reality that we all experience. Otherwise, people are going to call you crazy, and you might run into some other trouble again. So we have to agree on a reality on a certain basis. And I hope you make sure that the reality you agree upon with your family, in your circumstances, wherever you are, is full of kindness and goodwill, and more peace in your mind. And I hope you get some calmness, and you experience the joy of not having this inner monologue telling you what the world is and what you have to do. And I don't know, makes you unhappy in any way. Hope you got some nice calmness from that experience. And if not, you might achieve it today, or you might experience it today. Not achieve it, sorry. Don't achieve anything. Just open up to that possibility that the whole situation doesn't need to be something so horrible. There's that opportunity lurking right there in front of you as well. So, all the best, my friends behind the camera. So weird, really so weird talking without any people you pick up upon. So, yeah, I'm not sure I want to do that again, actually. It's sort of strange experience. And you have so much Dhamma out there, you don't need me. So take care, all the best, and see you.